Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Tabletop Tavern. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenny. I will be your Dungeon Master for this entire campaign, and I am going to let my wonderful players, all of whom I admire so greatly, introduce themselves, starting first with the beautiful, the effervescent, the red-lipped Victoria Shaz.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria, and I play Leon LaBelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan and I play Galen Wayfair.
Hi, I am Doe or Doadir and I play Gristlefoot.
And I'm Pippin and I play Ariadne and Kailte.
And I'm Stacy and I'm going to be playing Bee Bofkin.
And I'm Allie and I will be playing Maxilla Osteoclast.
Allie and Stacy have agreed to be our wonderful guest NPCs for the first 3-ish episodes, so it's lovely to have you here. Thank you for being here. For those of you who did not catch the last episode, let me give you a quick rundown on what has happened so far in Season 2 of the Tabletop Tavern. Last episode, Season 2 began with a reunion of sorts with the party, along with Bee Bofkin, Maxilla Osteoclast, and Travis, he's just Travis, all gathering at Maxilla's farm in the sleepy town of Veery Valley to celebrate the Harvest Festival. However, the first night of festivities got off to an inauspicious start when, listening to the horizon, Maxilla's mother, Cordea, heard something suspicious and told the party that the last hayride on which Maxilla's parent, Chet, and younger sister Stapes were on which they were on, whatever, had not returned after leaving over an hour beforehand. Travis seemed to understand exactly what it was Cordea was hearing in the distance and seemed to ready himself for battle. You are all standing on the porch behind Maxilla's family home with her mother, who has watched Travis emerge from the house and hand Maxilla her axe. Her brow, Cordea's brow, hammer, thank you, is furrowed, skin puckering around the scar that runs vertically down the center of her face. And Travis seems ready to go, seeming to know exactly where you're supposed to be going.
Leon, seeing that this has gone missing, they're ready to basically fight. Not fight necessarily, but go out somewhere, and Travis grabbed his weapon, so Leon kind of turns around into the house to go and grab some of her items. And I don't know if anybody else wants to do anything
follows,
before she comes
speeding,
back.
speeding swiftly in front of Leon effortlessly, and back out with a short sword.
So the party's all standing together, right? Like, we're kind of in a group of like, what the heck is happening? Everything's kind of wild.
Yes, with the exception of Ari and Leon, who've gone inside. Presumably Ari comes back very quickly and Leon shortly after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Gris is likely to question maybe to Maxilla, what does that sound? Because I don't think we know yet what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, we do or we don't. Jenny, you're shaking your head.
So Maxilla would know from the context of Travis and Cordea having a very brief exchange in what appeared to be Orcish earlier. Unfortunately, I don't believe any of you speak that.
No. So Gris turns to Maxilla and kind of just eyes wide. What's happening? Like, what's that noise?
Maxilla is a little bit tense, I think, and she's kind of trying to figure it out. And she's like, I don't know. I mean, what we think we hear is orcs. I don't know what that really means, though, because we'll see when we get there, but I really think we should just prepare for anything.
Oh, no, you go.
Sorry.
You go.
Oh, Bee kind of stands up a little straighter and kind of looks at Maxilla and kind of goes, I thought you told me there isn't any other orcs around here.
My family's the only orcs I've ever met. Well, besides Travis. He's already family. That's out of canon. Nope, that's not canon.
Travis doesn't even really acknowledge this exchange. He seems very distracted.
As that exchange happens, I think Leon would probably come back out of the house, and she's like not necessarily used to doing what she's doing in this moment, but you can all kind of see her strapping a sword to her waist and then throwing a small box. It's golden with a chain over her shoulder, so it crosses across her body.
Galen
What
sort
did I
of,
miss?
go ahead, Pip.
Oh, I was gonna say, I put a hand on my hilt and go, I know what I went to go inside to get. What is that?
Yeah, Galen sort of points at it and goes like, Where did you get that? He looks over to Maxilla and is like, Is that yours?
Man, Miss Priss, I didn't notice that you had a sword last time I saw you.
Gris kind of raises like a knowing eyebrow and like casts like a smirk over at Leon.
As they're all asking Leon these questions, she's like preparing to answer, and as Galen asks, "Where did you get that?" Leon kind of like blushes for a moment and then stops and says, "Well, I decided that," and she places her hand on her sword, "I was never going to get left and tied up ever again. So now I do magic, and I'm a paladin."
B kind of looks over to Leon, and she kind of loosens up her stance a little bit, and she kind of goes, "Well, I think it's very sexy of you, Leon."
Leon flips her hair and looks at B and is like, "Thank you."
I turn to Galen and I go, she realizes that's sharp, right? Like that she's more likely to, and I look back over to hurt herself than hurt
Leon
anything
looks
else.
at Ari and says, "I did spend the last 3 months training."
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, 3 months. No, you're right, that's a long
It's
long
not
time.
a lot, but it's better than nothing.
Gris kind of like chuckles at the two of them and their exchange and then says,
And you
You
even
know-
lived it.
I'll untie you anytime, but I'm glad to hear that you're taking a step to get a little bit stronger. And she's like, I'm with B on this one.
He goes, thank you. And then Leon kind of just like waves her hands and is like, "That's not what's most important right now, though. We need to go." And she looks at Travis and says, "It really seems like you know where you're going. Do you know what's going on?"
Travis looks at you for a minute and nods and then starts walking.
Now, hold on, y'all, gang. I'm feeling some reservations. I know we should be going in ready for a fight, but I don't think that we should have combat as our only option here. I don't want no trouble, alright?
Leon looks at
Maxilla's being
Maxilla and
told.
nods and says, "No, don't worry. I don't think any of us want to fight. I think we're just prepared in case. At
B
least that's what I want."
B kind of leans over and kind of goes, "I think Maxilla's trying to be sweeter than she usually is. I think Maxilla's maybe a little concerned for her image in this town and already what her image as a family is. If I don't know how appropriate it would be if we came in with swords."
No, that's not completely it.
B kind of shrugs and goes,
I'm mostly just worried about causing a tiff when we don't have to, and I don't want to cause a fight that we can't win. And I don't want to cause a fight. We don't know what they need. They don't know what they're here for. Maybe they broke an axle. We don't know why the thing's missing for sure. Just saying.
We can always go in amicably, and if needed, I can wild shape and we can scout it out maybe.
Travis turns back to face the group after having taken a few steps away, and he's like, I'll do the talking.
Gris looks all the way up at Travis. Sure thing. We'll follow your lead. And runs and grabs her staff and satchel from inside the farmhouse.
Bee takes a deep sigh because she really just didn't want to get up, more of fact, and grabs her weapons as well. And kind of comes back unreluctantly.
Well, I ain't carrying them for you this time. You gotta carry your own weight.
Bee kind of bats her eyes as Maxilla and kind of goes, "Oh, but will you carry me?"
Nope, gotta save my strength. I'm learning how to say no.
Bee kind of takes another deep sigh and kind of looks over to Ari. Not even to Galen. Looks over to Ari. Guys, will you carry me?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Absolutely.
Gris shoots Arya a look and is like, you usually carry me, though. Anyways, that's beside the point. Shouldn't we go check this out?
Fiona's at this point just following Travis. She's like, oh my god.
Gris kind of tries to catch up and follow suit.
Okay, so are you all leaving? Do you have anything else you need? Does everybody have everything? I think, Galen, you usually just keep your belt of
Galen
knives
never leaves
on you.
anywhere without his knives, so yeah, he's
Guys,
good.
that's so on brand.
I'm assuming Maxilla has her armor on, so
Yeah,
Because
I would say that Travis probably grabbed that for you, too. Yeah,
cool.
he's very helpful.
And my shield.
I just want to. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ari.
Oh, I was
Go
just
for
gonna say, as we start walking, I want to like go to Maxilla, but just to Maxilla, and be like, "Don't worry, it's okay. We don't want to fight. I just don't want to be on the wrong end of the pointy bit again."
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, I definitely don't think not bringing equipment is definitely the right move. I didn't want people to go in guns blazing, or
Fair enough.
whatever.
Besides, if I need to leave it, it's not all that. It's not a huge deal. And I'm just like holding up my hands.
Okay, Maxilla, when you said guns, you meant like biceps, and that's
Yeah.
where we're leaving that. I'm not
Cannons
writing guns
blazing
into this
or
story.
something. No.
Pointy bits of blazing.
Digitation ablazing.
Fires of blazing.
I didn't mean fires blazing. Yeah.
So as you all move to lead, following Travis, who at this point is probably a good 20 feet ahead of you, just walking, doesn't seem particularly interested in engaging in whatever the hell's going on with this entire interaction. Cordeia reaches out and grabs Maxilla's arm as she walks by. And Maxilla, she pulls you close to her. Gently, but still firmly. And looks you in the eyes. And in the moonlight, her scar is exceptionally visible. And she says to you, very quietly, "Be careful."
I will, Mama.
She gives you a hug.
I hug her back.
Aw.
And
All right. Go for it. Sorry.
No, I don't know. I just give her a reassuring squeeze after I break out that hug, and I just want to be careful.
All right. She watches you leave, and you all sort of cross this semicircular area where the festival is happening. Despite the enormous size of two of your companions, no one seems to pay you a second glance, even with all the weapons on you. People seem more interested in eating mushrooms and wrestling pigs and shucking corn and whatnot. However, two more people besides Cordeia watch you leave. Incus, the pumpkin from earlier that he was once wearing on his head, is now tucked underneath his arm, watches you all depart with a furrowed brow and an uncharacteristically concerned expression. Melius stands behind him, beside him, her arms uncrossed for once. Travis leads you through the cornfields. It's not necessarily an easily crossed route, and he doesn't seem to be paying great mind to the corn that he's trampling underfoot as he leads you through. There's a lot of rustling, and a lot of corn sort of being knocked over by a giant man walking through this field.
We've harvested most of it. Whatever. It's the harvest festival.
Does that imply it's rotten?
No.
I'm just picturing like a parted sea of like dead corn stalks.
Yeah,
And
that's about
Travis
right.
kind of at the helm. I think Gris kind of wants to try and catch up to Travis a little and see what he knows about other orcs and what he's kind of worried about and what he thinks might happen.
Okay, you want to catch up to Travis.
Yes, I'm very short and very very slow.
What is your movement speed?
Very not fast. 25 feet.
You're gonna have to call out to Travis because his movement speed is 40 feet per second.
Yo, that's fast.
Faster than Travis.
So Gris kind of calls ahead. I think she left at least somewhat early, probably not as early as Leon did. And she goes, Travis, why are you in such a hurry? Like, I know we're worried about, like the others and the, but you seemed concerned. Like, what do you have to fear? What are you concerned about?
So Travis falls back and actually moves to sort of walk in step with you. But he doesn't necessarily answer the question right away.
Gris kind of looks up at Travis and she's just like, I'm guessing this is not a typical thing to run into other groups of orcs out here, based on what Maxella said.
Corday is the first pure orc I've seen in over a decade. Yeah.
Leon is kind of walking just behind them, listening.
Gris kind of
He's,
like
directly behind Gris.
Like frowns a little bit, and she's like, I don't know a lot about orcs. We do have a half orc back in the village, but she's relatively new. Is it not common to have full-blooded orcs?
Leon has been doing a lot of studies of history, like in the past few months, just trying to find anything about her dad. Would she have stumbled upon anything? Should I roll a history check for that?
Roll a history check.
Okay.
Go home.
Oh, that was a nat 1. Plus 6, so that's a 7.
Wait, you don't get to add
House-
anything to a nat one.
House
crit
rules,
one.
babe.
And that's
Nat 1's a crit fail.
okay.
You're actually having trouble remembering what an orc looks like, even though there's one right in front of you.
Leon doesn't say anything.
Gris, Travis looks down at you, and he goes, yeah, most of us live on the other side of the mountains. We don't really come this far south, ever.
Gris kind of nods slowly, and she's like, so it must be something big to cause them to come here.
It doesn't matter why they're here, it matters that they're here.
And she just kind of raises an eyebrow and says, oh. She's not quite pieced it together yet. She's unsure, just kind of aside. Gris comes from a village where there's not a lot of class division or race division, and so she just isn't super familiar other than what she's seen, the few bouts of it that she's seen on this journey with the others. So she's definitely trying to figure it out.
Leon chimes in. And,
Go for it.
She says, have you come across anything like this in Alis?
In Alis? And he actually kind of laughs at that for a minute, but it's humorless and dry.
Yeah.
And he goes, I mean, I met Maxilla in Alis.
But nothing like this. Or whatever this might be.
No. No. And he looks back to Gris, and he goes, you said you know half orc. How old is she?
Not very. She feels... Gris is just like, I don't really know. She feels young in nature, probably not much older than Maxilla or you, and she kind of shrugs. She's like, but she just came to Dreamer's Grove since I've been back the past few months. She's maybe been there 2 months.
Do you know where she came from?
Gris kind of looks down and furrows her brow for a bit and thinks really hard, and she's like, no, honestly, Nyx doesn't talk much about her past. I just know that it's a troubled one. She always gets a little uncomfortable when I ask.
Seems to be a common theme. And he just kind of like keeps walking for a little bit.
Gris is kind of processing that and kind of in her thoughts for a little, and I'm sure Travis probably outpaces her at some point.
No, actually.
No?
He matches his pace to you.
B will take this opportunity. I'm not too sure how much B heard a lot of that. But B is going to take this opportunity to talk to Maxilla and kind of lean back and kind of go, so, what'd your mom say?
My mom seems worried, B. And I haven't seen... I've told you about my mom a little bit.
Only when it's important.
Yeah, she left the clan when she was young. Like, I think she was younger than I was when she left. And it was not on good terms. People that leave orc clans, they'll never have good terms with that clan.
And B isn't really quite reading the tone and kind of goes, oh, so is she mad at you?
Well, why would my mama be mad at me, B?
Why'd she speak in whatever language? So she didn't want us to hear it.
My mom was just nervous. And I think the reason... She's not mad at me. She's just nervous. I think she's... This is probably the first time, like Travis said... Well, I don't know if we heard that. We don't see orcs hardly at all. My mom is the only full-blooded orc I've ever met. So I think there's just... I don't know. I'm struggling to wrap my head around this. But I think this is just not good news, and I think it's kind of bringing up stuff with my mom.
And B, with that comment, is kind of reading the tone a little bit more and kind of just nods slowly and kind of looks at Maxilla and kind of goes, well, I'll always be your shadow. As she continues to walk forward a little bit and look over to Galen and...
She's kind of my shadow as she walks ahead of me.
As she walks ahead.
B's a Leo, give her a break.
Still by them, so I don't know how much I caught. But if I caught that last bit, I just want to like call after her and be like, "But you have mass."
Did Galen clock that?
Galen, you're walking by B and Maxilla. It looked like B was gonna say something to you before Maxilla roasted her.
Okay. So Galen just looks over at B, seeing that she walked ahead, and was just like, her shadow, huh? And sort of giggles.
B kind of looks over to Galen and was like, well, you promised to be mine, wouldn't you? As she continues to walk forward.
And Galen just nods with a smile and just lets B walk in front of him.
Shadow trait.
I again just look between them, like Galen and B, and go, but you're corporeal. You have a corp. A body.
It's
You're
a
not a
metaphor,
shadow.
Ari. It's just a colloquialism.
Why would
say.
you? Okay, and I like just look at him confused. I'm like, why?
Galen just throws up his hands like, I.
Have you ever tried to be in someone's shadow? You can't see, they're fucking tall.
Galen just doesn't know what to say. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, kind of, I guess, maybe once. It didn't work out, but...
As the one brain cell bounces between Ari and Galen. Leon! Seemed like maybe you had a thought.
I have a logistics question.
Yes.
And then I guess I'll proceed with the conversation depending on what you say about it. So I know a spell named Tongues. If I touch Travis, that means all of us will be able to understand Orcish. Will that translate to potential other orcs?
It
if the
will.
Spell is still active.
Okay. Wait.
It's very like, it doesn't really describe large group settings. The spell doesn't.
Yeah, I would say
they wouldn't necessarily be able to understand us, but because it's the same language that he knows, would we be able to understand them?
Not with this many people.
If you want.
Yeah, okay. I would say circle back to it if it becomes necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll circle back to it if you feel like you need to know Orcish. You can ask again.
Okay. In the meantime, then, Leon is kind of walking with Gris and Travis, and she says, "So, about how far do you think this is away? What do you think we're coming upon?"
He holds out a hand to gesture for you to stop, and holds up a finger to be quiet, and
listens.
Forces you to listen. Yeah, thank you. And then he starts talking again. Do you hear that?
Chris stops and listens as well, I'm assuming.
Yes. It's the same sound as earlier.
Okay.
I'll let your perception check for that carry on. I'm so sorry. I'm just watching Allie and Stacey lose their fucking mind. It's okay. I'm gonna just cover them up on my screen here. So he holds up a finger and he goes, "Do you hear that sound?" Yeah.
Yes.
Do we? Yes.
Yes.
Do we?
You do.
Our perception check was a whole episode ago, Jenny.
You hear it. You heard it last time. You can hear it now.
Yes.
It's a little louder than before. And he goes,
"Okay.
That's the sound of a horn. And if we follow it, we can find who's blowing it."
Chris kind of like looks at Travis.
Leon.
And it's just like, yeah, uh-huh. And then she's like, wait, a horn? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just gonna say, Leon kind of nods and says, "What does that mean?"
Aren't horns usually involved with, I don't know, war? Chris asks.
He chuckles at that. And he's like, "It's a very halfling take. They can be used for anything, really. Just to communicate. You know, you blow a horn, you're in trouble. You blow a horn, I mean, you're at war.
Dinner's ready?
There's... Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes. This one is to tell others where you are."
Oh.
So they want us to come to them.
That would be
like
the better of the two scenarios. Yeah.
Oh.
Explains his breath support.
I'm
what
sorry?
Would be the worst of the two scenarios?
Well, orcs tend to move in clans, and if you get separated from your clan, you can always let them know where you are and how to find you.
Okay.
And the worst of the two
Leon just kind of
scenarios
nods.
is that we show up and there's a lot more of them than there are of us.
Leon looks up at Travis and says, well, hopefully that's not the case. And even if it is, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to, or at least you'll be able to converse, and maybe everything will be fine. And Leon just kind of goes, everything will be fine.
Gris kind of grunts a little, and she's like, I'm worried about poor Stapes.
Oh.
She's orc, she'll be fine.
She's an orc, but she's also... Gris kind of just like, she's also a little soft. Gris is like, I've really taken a liking to her. I hope she's okay.
B kind of overheard once the halfling was brought up, like it kind of, her ears twitched a little bit, and she kind of leans over and kind of goes, well, maybe they're looking for a clan, aren't they? I mean, they can join ours, and maybe it's just my halfling upbringing, but why would that be so bad?
Gris smiles, like having originally thought the same thing, and then she's like, it seems like maybe the way orcs clans are built up are quite different than halfling families. It seems like maybe when you're born into a clan, maybe you're kind of stuck there. And Gris kind of like looks up at Travis, like looking for confirmation a little bit.
If only it was that easy, Chris.
Leon, kind of thinking about what Gris just said and what B just said, looks at Travis and says, is the fact that you and Maxilla and Maxilla's mother are not in a clan going to be a problem?
Oh.
Travis! Yeah, actually, Travis seems to think about that one for a long time. And he goes, it really depends what clan they're from.
Okay.
B kind of looks over to Travis and kind of goes, which clan are you from?
That doesn't matter.
Leon looks at B. Like in a knowing glance of, yeah, it clearly matters.
Gris just kind of like pipes up, and she's like, so did you and Maxilla and Cordea leave your clans on good terms?
Travis actually is a little upset by this question.
Oh fuck.
Nobody leaves their clans on good terms, halfling. You either die a warrior in battle for your clan, or you die alone.
Leon just goes, wow, okay.
So Gris's kind of expression changes completely, and she's kind of thinking about back to her village and the half orc that's moved in recently, and how kind of standoffish she's been as she's kind of joined Dreamer's Grove and kind of starts to piece it together. And she kind of once again looks up to Travis and says, you know, I see the sincerity of this, like the strain of this interaction now. I understand why approaching this with caution is so important. And she kind of like just kind of fidgets with her satchel a little bit and kind of tries to stand up a little bit stronger, a little bit braver, knowing that, you know, this could go a plethora of ways potentially.
So, sorry, Leon, did you have something to say?
No, I'm just humming.
Okay. you continue to travel through this corn for a while. You get most of the way to the edge of the cornfield, and Travis holds up a hand one more time for everyone to stop. He then turns to Maxilla and says, Maxilla.
Yeah. Maxilla looks up to Travis, kind of distracted. I think she was also kind of in her own thoughts. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. But I think she distractedly finally answers Travis. I think it took her a little second to answer, though.
Could you ask him to head home? And he points behind you, and standing kind of half hidden in the corn is Incus, who's appeared to have followed you this entire way.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'll go talk to him, Maxilla says. And then she kind of walks over to Incus as gently as she can. Mister, what are you doing out here?
Maxilla,
Incus.
you're gonna make sure Stapes and Ba are okay, right?
Hey, listen. And Maxilla puts her hand on Incus's shoulder. Nothing bad's gonna happen to him. And I don't know what we're getting into, Incus, but I promise you, I will get them out. They're going to be safe. No matter, I'll do whatever it takes.
Incus tears up a little bit, and he goes, Maxilla, earlier I made her cry, and then she got on the hayride, and if that's the last thing I ever did, I feel bad.
Hey, don't think about that. Stapes loves you, and it's not about what the last thing you say is, and it's not gonna be the last thing, alright? We're gonna get her. And then you can say you're sorry and do her chores for a week.
I don't want to do her chores, but I'll say I'm sorry. I love you, Maxilla.
I love you too, but I need you to get home so I don't have to worry about you while we're trying to do whatever we gotta do out there, okay?
Okay.
Hey, just watch over Ma. She needs the help right now. I don't think she can be alone.
Okay, I will. Melius is with her right now, but she's being Melius.
I know, you gotta help buffer out Melius.
Incus gives you a quick hug and pulls a little bit on your braid before he leaves.
I think Gris over here.
Maxilla noogies him.
I think Gris overhearing this likely kind of reaches out just out of instinct and kind of grabs Leon's hand and just kind of like just like squeezes it for a second, kind of seeing this moment and like feeling Incus's pain and concern for his family. Yeah.
Leon squeezes her hand back.
Gris just kind of smiles at her and kind of once again turns to Travis to kind of lead the way.
Travis doesn't move any further. First he looks to Ariadne.
Okay.
Do you have a flask on you?
Task, and I pull it out. I just toss it over to him.
He drinks about half of it and then throws it back to you.
You want to keep it for now?
I'm gonna be okay.
You know where to find me. I take a quick, just the tiniest sip, and I put it back.
Gris kind of looks up to Travis and is like, I don't know what part of Travis Gris can even possibly reach. Like,
Me.
Yeah,
and just
so
like
you're
tries
about
to place a
knee-high.
comforting hand somewhere on his body. I don't think she can even reach his hand. Likely, she's probably like thigh level, knee or thigh.
I look down at Gris and I'm like, would you like more of a view?
And Chris is like, no, I just need him to know it's okay that I'm here. And she kind of like says it while looking at Travis, like saying it to him, but not to him.
Travis absentmindedly pats your head, but doesn't really react to anything that you said so much as your touch. And then he sort of like the last bit of corn that's at the edge of the field, he actually takes the time to part a little bit with his hand. And he says quietly, do you see that? And points. Can you all roll a perception check?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
Do our orc eyes see?
Can we all see? Or just those in the front?
If you are tall enough to see over people's heads, you
So
can
I
see.
I can't see?
You can't see. B can't see.
Oh,
Ari
Son
can
of a bitch.
because presumably
that's
they're
fine.
looking over you.
B
Yeah.
can't see.
I
On
rolled
the
a 14.
20!
He got a
B
20.
okay. B with a 20. I'll give you that. Okay, so let's start with B. Okay, Ari got a 12.
7.
I got a 14.
Maxilla got a 10.
All right. Let's start with B. B, you dart forward the moment that Travis points and says this, and you sort of wrap one arm around his waist to like dramatically peek out from behind him. You can see about 50 yards away is the bank of the river. At the river appears to be on the other side of the river appears to be at the river, not the other side. At the bank of the river appears to be what it looks like an encampment. You can see a fire, though small, over which appears to be cooking a large animal. You can't quite make it out from this distance. You can see 4 people seated around it. And that's about it. That's what you can make out. Leon, you can see what appears to be a fire burning in the distance.
Mhm.
Maxilla, you can see that Travis is visibly upset. Ari, you got a did you get
12.
a 14? You got a 12. You sort of push past B a little bit and are also able to see the campfire. Galen, you can see that B is being dramatic and very touchy-feely. Gris, you're just kind of concerned because both Travis and Maxilla seem to be having a hard time right now.
Is Maxilla near Chris at this point, I'm guessing? They're probably all kind of huddled
Yes. You're all very close to each other.
out. Okay. Chris kind of turns to Maxilla, hoping that her height gives her an advantage, and she's like, what is it? What do you see? And
What do I see?
Talking to Maxilla, not me.
I can't remember what Jenny told me.
Leon kind of
I just-
answers.
B. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say. You go.
B actually kind of leans back, kind of with her excitement, kind of rolling back a little bit, and just kind of goes, I don't know what all the chatter's all about. It's just 4 people having their own little barbecue.
on a barbecue?
Leon kind of looks up and says, I can see the fire. Do we see the hayride people?
B
Travis
kind
at
of,
this point turns back to the group as B starts talking. Go for it, B.
B just kind of goes to Maxilla and kind of goes, well, would Ba and Stapes join a barbecue in the middle of the forest?
In the middle of the harvest festival with much yummier food?
Good
I
point,
could
Ari.
imagine that they'd probably grab us if there was a promptu barbecue in the middle of the woods.
It's not
We'd
a
love to party.
barbecue, Miss Bonkin. Travis is like rubbing the space between his eyes real slowly, and he goes, "Those are orcs, and that appears to be one of the horses."
Oh God.
The fire?
The barbecue.
Okay.
Travis, his face has gotten like he was unhappy before. Now he seems very unhappy, bordering on a little angry.
Tyrion.
So wait, you don't see Stapes or your ba, but we see
I can't tell from here. Here's how this is going to go down. I am going to go up there alone. You are not to follow me. You are not to run in willy-nilly. And at this point, he turns to Galen and looks down at him. I have seen you leap without looking. And if this is a cliff you choose to jump off of, I can assure you, you will be dead before you hit the ground.
Noted.
And he does like a little snapping motion with his hands.
Galen
He's
sort
like-
of just claps his hands together and rubs them and is like, all right, I'm staying right here. And then he sits down on the ground cross-legged.
Leon
Travis?
looks at Travis and says, I understand that this is your area of expertise, but nothing good ever comes from going in alone.
Gris nods
Oh.
furiously. She's like, a dog, a wolf dog. I'll come with you. You could have a dog.
That's not what I meant.
Oh, you meant
Okay.
all of us.
You know what the orcs think of dogs, Gris?
Gris kind of collapses inward, and she's like, dinner probably.
Yeah.
Yes, they're delicious. I
Oh dear.
if I need backup, I'll ask.
Travis could come with you, Maxilla says.
I could sneak. I'm very hard to see.
I'll bring Maxilla.
Okay.
The
I
rest
let
of
you go in alone.
wait here, and we'll give us a few moments.
Your call.
You don't
Leon
want anyone
says,
else to come.
They're less likely
I am-
to attack their own. I mean, it goes from maybe 100% to 80%. 80 is smaller than... Yes, 80%.
Leon looks between Maxilla and Travis and says, what I think we should do is perhaps I will keep an open line of messaging communication in one of your heads. I won't talk to you. I'll just send one message and then you can wait to respond until you feel like you need to. That way you don't have
Travis-
to yell for us.
Looks at Maxilla and he's like, message?
I was about to say, I don't think Maxilla knows. I don't think they ever did that magic on her.
So Leon kind of like realizing that they don't understand, very quickly sends two messages, one to each of them. That both say, I can talk to you in your head and you can respond in your head to me.
And Maxilla goes, like this, out loud.
And Travis goes,
Not quite.
Travis is like, oh my god, she's in my head now.
Much do you know about what's going on here?
Leon laughs and is like, thankfully, I can't read minds. All I can do is just send you a message, like we're having a conversation, and then you just have to, so I'll think it to you, and then you think it back to me instead of saying it out loud. So what I can do
I
is...
cut off the message. Like, I could be like, okay, yeah, I heard you. And then I could, be thinking about something else. How do I cut it off?
Leon kind of looks at Maxilla and is like, I don't have an answer for you on that, actually.
Let me try.
I could maybe turn the spell off? And Leon casts message again and is like, all right, let's test. And she says this in her head to Maxilla.
And Maxilla doesn't say it out loud this time. She goes, "Can you hear me?"
Leon laughs out loud and nods and goes, "This? Don't do that."
Maxilla removes her fingers from her temples. "Can you hear me?"
Leon messages back and says, "I can hear you. Yes."
"Did you hear the part I said afterward?"
What did you know?
Never mind. We don't have to worry about it. All right.
All right.
Gris at this point like shakes her head and reaches into her satchel and says, "Okay, we have a way to communicate with you guys." And she pulls out a feather and says, "I'm just gonna give you both a little extra something." And she places a hand on Travis and casts enhance ability and gives him Bear's Endurance. So gives him advantage on Constitution checks and an extra 2d6 of hit points. Just in case. And then to Maxilla, she's going to give Eagle Splendor, because I'm going to cast this as a level 2 and give Maxilla advantage on charisma checks.
So you gave Travis what, 2d6
of temporary hit points and advantage on Constitution checks.
And then you gave Maxilla advantage on charisma, right?
Yeah, advantage on charisma.
All right.
Damn, is this how Maxilla says, "Is this how you feel all the time?" And she kind of snaps her freaking overall straps a little bit.
He tilts her head and is like, "I didn't know it changed."
He kind of just goes, "Oh, what? You mean sexy?"
Yes.
You looking
Travis is sort of watching this entire exchange, and he's like, this isn't necessary. I assure you, I have killed more than my fair share of orcs, and this isn't going to be a problem." And then he just starts walking away again.
Oh,
And Maxilla sobers up, gets serious, and follows Travis.
Gris kind of like drops her hand from where it was placed on either of them and just is like, "Okay." And then under her breath, she's like, "Just in case." It like makes her feel better having done that.
Leon sends message to Maxilla and just says, "Don't respond until you need us." And then she kind of just keeps that open line of communication.
Maxilla, "Roger, Roger." But only in her head.
Oh my god. Jenny, a question for you. Is the rest of the party in like a pretty well concealed spot? Are they like super obvious or
with the intelligence rolls of orcs, you're fine.
okay.
Oh, God.
You can actually creep along the edge of this cornfield if you want to get about 20 yards closer, to be about 30 yards away from them if you want to.
Would that allow us to maybe potentially hear some of the conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
I will do that.
Gris
did
Yeah,
I
I think we'd all like to do that.
slowly and with her small stature like kind of weaves through the corn, like almost like in the Matrix a little. Like she just kind of moves her body throughout the stalks. And gets a little bit closer and kind of just sits down in the cornfield and kind of like waits for her friends to catch up because she knows they're coming.
Yeah.
Do you all follow Gris?
Yeah, Leon follows.
Yeah. I
And,
likely got there first because I'm faster than Gris by a significant amount.
Yeah, Ari, you get there first, and when Gris goes to sit down, you are already seated in the place that's like immediately adjacent to where she would sit.
Yeah.
Gris is just like, "Okay." Sup, Ari? And settles in.
When Leon gets there, she kind of squats down and says, "Does anybody else have a really bad feeling about them going in there alone?"
I'm assuming B was just following. B's just kind of leans back a little bit and kind of goes, I trust Maxilla, though.
I trust Maxilla.
I just worry.
But Gris is like, I worry as well.
I'm not worried so much about Travis as he broke my face with his pointer finger, but Maxilla I'm a little bit worried about, and Galen sort of like rubs the back of his neck.
Mm-hmm. I go, yeah, but do you remember Maxilla's shield? It's sturdy. Also, I'm very fast.
So, as the party debates the merits of having this Travis and Maxilla date part 2.
Oh no.
Maxilla, you and Travis walk next to each other. He, as you approach, sort of relaxes his stance, but you can tell it's taking him a lot of effort to do it. He takes the axe off of his back and drops it to the ground, and then kicks it in the direction of the fire.
Jenny, are we far enough, like, are we, like, right at the fire now?
You're about 20 yards away.
So he put it down 20 yards away. Like, he kicks it in the direction of the fire, but it's not like we're at the fire.
No, but whoever's at the fire can definitely see you and seems to be watching you approach.
Okay, yeah, Maxilla follows that lead. Maxilla removes her warhammer and puts it next to Travis's, axe. She doesn't kick it, though. Maxilla respects her warhammer.
Travis kind of looks at you for a minute, and he goes, "You have to show them you can't pick it up."
But I mean, I put it I just reached far and put it down.
This is us, Maxilla.
Like, I'm like, it's very clear that this is not going. Like, I'm not
You don't have
like,
to. It's
Maxilla kicks the dirt around it to make it look like she did, but she doesn't.
He smiles a little bit at that, and he's like, "That'll work."
We're far away. I'm not trying, Travis. I promise you, I'm not trying to pick it up. I'm putting it right next to yours. They can stay there together.
It's very romantic. So he nods, and as you continue to walk forward, he looks at you and he goes, "How much Orcish did your mom teach you?"
You know what? I know enough. I believe. I know mostly when parents are. I know mostly angry Orcish because my mom yells at me when in Orcish. But she also has taught me quite a bit. I got it. I feel I can understand it. Maxilla is convincing herself.
Travis is nodding, and he's like, honestly, that would have been helpful to know a long time ago. Tyler wouldn't have. Anyways, and so you're approaching the fire. As you get closer, you can see the faces of the people seated around it. You realize that one of the figures is a little bit shorter than the others, and as you approach, you realize that it's Stapes, seated next to an orc man. When she sees you, Maxilla, she smiles, but you can tell that she has been crying. It probably has something to do with her treasured horse in front of her.
Oh no, the horse. Maxilla smiles at her and gives her like a reassuring nod and like kind of doing that sibling telekinetic conversation. No, not they're communicating, but without words. So she smiles and she kind of just gives a reassuring nod, like I know and I'm sorry. This kind of shit's kind of hitting the fan. But hold still.
So as you approach, Travis greets the other orcs in Orcish. He's actually pretty calm. This is not the angry Orcish you are used to when you shirk off your responsibilities around the farm, or when Incus glues Malleus and Stapes together. This is almost sort of diplomatic. He asks them a few questions that seem relatively innocuous. A lot of them have to do with what seem to be religious greetings, things about Drumsh, all this stuff. As he talks, he then points to Stapes and says something that you don't quite understand. The orc next to her says no, followed by the word for human. And he then asks another question about something you're very familiar with. He asks if they've heard from Grumsh lately. They tell him that they're on a pilgrimage of sorts. At which point, he goes a little quiet and asks them a question about sacrifices.
Maxwell's not having any face journeys. She's sitting there quietly. She's sitting
He then turns to you and says, in common, do you know how many people were on the hayride with them?
Does Maxilla know? How many people does the cart hold usually? Probably 6.
It can hold, like 6 to 8 people.
Yeah. Maxilla. So does Travis ask Maxilla that, right? Like how many people were on the cart? Maxilla just goes, I think probably about 6 to 8. We were it was right in the swing of things. I imagine most people were lining up to get into that hayride.
Travis crosses his arms and nods, and then looks back to the orcs. Did you bring your brothers with you? They say yes. And when he asks how many, they seem a little hesitant. At which point he looks back to you, Maxilla, and he goes, he's going on a face journey. It is a negative face journey. This man either is going to kill someone or start crying, and there's no in between here. And he goes, Maxilla, can you tell them that they can come out now? They're not going to. Right now, they're not going to do anything. You can with the, and he points 2 fingers to his temples, and it's like with the
Leon, are you there?
Leon in the cornfield kind of perks up and stands and messages Maxilla back. Yes, there's no one else who could be here right
now. Travis is giving me the all clear and says that y'all can come out now. Y'all can join us.
Oh. Leo messages back and says, great. Fun fact, you can just talk normally.
I don't know how.
Leo just kind of stops and turns to the rest of the party and says, I just got a message from Maxilla. And Liam kind of looks at B and is like, she's really not used to it. It's a lot. Yeah. We can go out there now. Travis gave us the all clear.
Cool.
Chris kind of stands up and tugs a little on her tunic, and she's like, Leon, they're really big. I'm
Leon,
really not big.
Leon kind of chuckles, and she points to the gold box strapped around her back. She says, that's a shield. I'll protect you.
And Chris is like,
or I could be a bear. Don't do that. They're roasting a horse right now, Chris.
Chris is like,
besides, they probably won't see you. You're quite small.
Chris just kind of is like, she just like cracks her back a little, and she's like, Stapes looks really sad, so maybe it'll help her if she just sees me. Okay, let's go. She's like hyped herself up at this point.
With that comment, Bee kind of stands up, and I don't think Bee's tall enough where she'll be seen even in the cornfield with the height. However, she does extend her arms, do a big stretch, and says, "All right, let's go."
I feel like
Maxilla
Leon
needs
would
us.
lead the way, and so she kind of parts open the corn and kind of holds it behind her as she walks through for the rest of the party.
Galen, do you have anything to add?
Nope, the moment's passed. It's fine.
Okay. So what order are you leaving this corn maze in?
I think Gris will probably follow right after Leon, is my guess.
Yeah, I start walking when Leon starts walking.
Bee
I'm
waits
very
for Galen.
Galen walks alongside B.
So I think that would put Ari ahead of Leon. Like after Leon holds open the corn, I feel like Ari would zoom by. And then I think Leon would stay with Gris. And then B and Galen would be behind us.
Yes. Sorry, I had to do some like mental pictures in my head there.
Spatial awareness.
You went on a face journey.
I was doing some math. So Ari, you are quite a bit ahead of the group. As you zoom forward, Travis sees you and yells something in a language you don't understand. Seems to realize that he's done that, curses in common, and then says, "Stop. You have to go slow. And drop your..." And he points to, like, his back.
Cool. I, like, when he says stop, I, like, skid to a stop on my heels like a cartoon. And I just, like, freeze and wait for him to finish, and he says the thing, and I go, "Oh." And I just, like, start unbuckling. And just like, gently lay it on the floor and go, like, take a couple steps, and I'm like, is this slow enough kind of facial expression?
He does kind of like a kicking motion, and then you notice that, like, his axe is quite a ways away, and Maxilla's hammer seems to have some dirt kicked over it.
Cool. Sure. I kneel down and I kind of like scoop up some dirt, and I'm like, I look back at him.
He just sort of like looks at Maxilla, shakes his head a little bit, and is just like, I don't know. Okay.
Gris kind of like, I assume Leon and Gris eventually catch up to Ari, and Gris is like, push it away. Just push it away. You don't have to cover it. Push it away, Ari.
But I'm like, but I already covered it. I take a big step like away.
That seems to satisfy Travis's desire for this.
Okay.
Gris kind of like looks at Travis and like points at her staff like, should this go? Or is this good?
He nods as if you can keep the staff.
Gris kind of clutches it and like steps close to Ari.
I continue. If I continue walking, I still do it in a comically just like slow and deliberate manner. I'm just like, you did not give me other instructions yet.
Leon is like very hesitant to put down her sword. So she kind of like casts message to Travis and is like, "They're not gonna try and take the weapons, right?"
Oh, they will.
Okay, so then are they within eye shot of Leon yet?
I mean, they can see her.
Can they see her in enough detail to like notice if she puts her sword down or if it just disappears?
She needs to set it down.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
could I just cast alter self and have the sword disappear?
No. The ritual of setting down the sword seems to be important.
Okay. Leon sets her sword down beside Ari's and kind of steps ahead, so she's standing like a few steps in front of them. I assume like Maxilla and Travis are to her left.
In front of her to the left, sort of.
In front
At
of her
this
to the
point,
left, yeah.
Maxilla is Maxilla, Stapes has managed to sort of stand up and come over to you and is holding on to you for dear life. She's clinging to you.
Yeah. Maxilla wraps one arm around her. It's like, hey, listen. Quietly, just like to her, for her ears only. It's like, you were so brave. I promise we're gonna figure what's going on here, but just stay right here. And Maxilla just kind of gives the arm around her a squeeze.
Thank you, Maxilla. Don't tell Ma or Travis, but I was really scared.
Steepies. Your secret's safe with being kiddo.
So, Leon, Ari, and Gris, at this point, you're about 10 yards from the fire. You can see now that around it are 3 adult orcs, Stapes and Maxilla, who are sort of wrapped around each other, and Travis, who is very obviously tense and has taken several steps away from the entire group, including Maxilla.
Mm-hmm.
Can we roll a perception check to see if we see Maxilla's Ba or anybody else, or signs of the wagon now that we're closer?
I mean, you can.
I would like to do that.
I think I would like to do that as well.
You can.
Jenny's like, I told you everything.
That's a 9 + 1, 10.
18 + 3, 21.
Gris,
wow.
You can see a couple of wagon tracks, but they disappear after about 10 feet away from the campfire.
Okay.
Because it transforms into river.
I thought we had another wyvern.
That leaves B and Galen.
Are we within sight of Travis and Maxilla?
You can see Travis and Maxilla and the orcs, but the light hasn't quite thrown you into relief yet. So they can probably see your shapes. You're about... I mean, they can see you, but they can't make you out in detail. It has to do with the light source.
Bee's a little nervous, as much as she likes being a performer. She isn't quite sure what to do, so she kind of grabs her sword, but not in... I don't know if it's in perception, because I want to see if I can just drop my sword in the shadows where Bee is.
They're not gonna like that.
Oh, okay. Never mind, so they can see.
I mean, if you show up without a sword, they're going to be very suspicious, yes.
Galen sort of just reaches out for Bee's hand and takes it and like runs his thumb over her knuckles like reassuringly, and like kind of just looks at her and just nods and starts walking forward and just kind of gives her a look like it'll be all right.
With that, Bee kind of just nods and then presents herself with a smile like she typically is seen, and walks a little bit more in sight as she slowly is ready to grab her weapons, but not in a way for fighting, just to grab them.
So you all approach the campfire. Gris, Ari, and Leon arrive together, and B and Galen are about 20 yards behind you. You approach. Gris, Stapes seems happy to see you, though she doesn't seem to want to unwind herself from Maxilla. Maxilla, even if you try to move or take a step, she just keeps her arms sort of around you and doesn't seem to want to let go.
No.
Gris kind of just shoots her like a reassuring glance and like a small smile, and kind of like I don't know why, but Gris probably goes to like make herself seem smaller, even though she is the smallest in this situation, and probably like, you know, I imagine her like tucking her hands around like the strap of her satchel, and just kind of like looking around reluctantly.
Right. So Travis at this point sort of seems to realize that you're all here, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, this," and he sort of steps back towards the orc group, and he goes, "So, as Maxilla was explaining earlier, orcs have this god that lives in our heads, sort of. And in order to appease him, we go to war, basically. And we haven't heard him for a while, and for people like me and Maxilla and Stapes, that's a good thing. We don't want to have to hear that all the time, but as anyone would, orcs get a little bit nervous when their god stops talking to them. So, a lot of clans have this belief that if you ever fall out of Grumsh's favor, the solution is a sacrifice. So, they just happened across a large group of people. From what I understand, they're fine. They've brought the rest of their clan with them, and that's where they are. And they say they'll take us to them. Probably. It's a little hard to tell. They're not very smart. And he, smiles at them and waves. And they sort of, wave back a little awkwardly.
How big
Leon.
is their clan?
Yeah, good question, Gris.
7 or 8 people. It's small. It's
So
not.
7 or 8 plus these 3, or 7 or 8 total?
He stops for a minute and rubs his chin, and he's like, that's a very good question. So somewhere between 7 and 11, let's say. And he counts on his fingers for a minute. Yes, 11. 11. And he looks at Maxilla and he's like, so 8 plus 3 is 11, yeah?
Yeah,
Right?
Maxilla gives him a thumbs up and kind of nods that took me a second, but I think so.
Gris is nodding reassuringly, yes, your math is right. And just why would they give us the people back if they want to make a sacrifice? What do we have to do? We have to give them something in exchange?
Or are they
He's
planning
sort of-
on taking us there and sacrificing us as well?
That makes him laugh a little bit, and he's like, I'm telling you, you don't have to be worried about that.
Great.
And he stops for a moment. He goes, my plan was to try to explain to them that this isn't about Grumsh and has more to do with everything.
Mhm.
And if, that doesn't work, then we can... And he sort of he does the snapping motion from earlier again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Leon looks at him and says, I'll be fine to do that. I don't want to. Without my weapon, I still have... She just kind of gestures with her hands. I still have this.
Mhm.
But if we don't have our weapons, I don't want to fight these people. But if you're saying that the backup is to fight these people and we don't have our weapons, how is that going to work?
Travis stops for a minute and he goes, how much do you know about orcs? Just in general.
Leon answers honestly and says, not as much as I probably should.
Okay. Well, you may have noticed that the triplets are tall for their age. Orcs reach maturity at 13 years old. We don't live very long. I mean, we could. Corday is easily one of the oldest orcs I've ever met, but no orc dies in a deathbed. And when you come of age, you go through the rites. And these, and he jams his thumb back towards the other orcs, are babies. Not babies, but they haven't And he sort of like does the snapping motion again.
They're kids.
They're here because this has been made part of their rite of passage. So they want to bring back the sacrifices, and then after that they can, and he stops for a minute and like blushes a little bit, and he's like, they can get married, I guess.
Well, it seems like we have to go with them. We obviously can't leave. We can't leave without a hayride villagers. We can't. So
Nobody's arguing that.
I don't really know if we have much of a choice other than to just go along with it.
Trev nods.
Are you sure you don't have a little message in my head still? Because, yeah, I think the same thing. We ain't going nowhere.
Leon quickly casts message and is like, I can do that whenever you'd like.
Travis nods, and this time he actually, he turns away from the group and faces just Maxilla. And he goes, I know, this is important to you. And this is your family. But you know that when I left, it was because I don't want to ever have to kill my brothers again. And I will do everything I can to help you get Chet back. But I don't know if I can... and he just like, he trails off and he's like, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
No, Travis. And she grabs his shoulder, or somewhere around there, his shoulder. And she's like, that's the last thing in the world that I want. And I would never ask you to do that. Like, we'll figure something out, but worst comes to worst, that doesn't have to fall on you, all right? And I don't want it to fall on me either. I'm going to look for every other freaking option before we land on that, all right? And then, yeah, I think Maxilla also is kind of on the same page. You know what I mean? And I think she's just trying to tell him that's, we just do not want to go down that path.
Travis looks at you for a moment, and then in Orcish says, thank you. I love you. And then he turns around without expecting any kind of answer, or maybe not wanting to hear the answer, and then looks back to the group, and he's like, they say they'll take us there.
Awesome. I guess we should go. And then Gris is like, hey Travis, when you said a sacrifice, does it have to be like a person? Like, obviously it doesn't have to be. Does it have to be human? Does it have to be a certain type of sacrifice?
He looks at you for a minute and he goes, animals are easy, Gris.
Oh, okay. Right.
And he says something to the other orcs around the fire, who stand up but seem a little bit hesitant about just leaving this fire there. At which point Travis kind of points at the fire and he's like, does anyone have a bucket or something?
Something better. And I like side-eye Galen.
I feel like Leon just kind of looks at Galen.
Galen sort of just puts out the fire with a little bit of his water hands. He just sort of just goes like, whoosh.
Is that the technical term? Water hands.
B kind of looks at Galen and kind of goes, that's new.
Right? Isn't it cool? And Galen sort of like makes like a little dolphin in his hand, and it's just like floating there. Like, and then he just makes it go away.
I just look at B and chuckle, and I go like, I wish that were new. Tortured us with it from the first moment we met.
Chris is still unaware of that situation, for the record. Y'all have never caught Chris up
And
on
she
that
will
one.
continue to be. At this point, she just can't know. Like, at this point, that's just the law now. Chris doesn't get to know about boobfish.
Chris wants to know about boobfish.
I'll tell you when you're older.
Leon starts following Travis, and I just want her to quickly cast message to Travis, and just say, I have a spell that can charm up to 4 people, and I just want you to know that in case you need me to use it. And then she just leaves it.
Did you see
Travis-
Travis' message? Sorry.
Yeah, that was in message.
Okay.
Travis doesn't respond. The orc teenagers, the orcs, who are fully grown by orc standards but are young by human years, lead you to the river, at which point they just start to wade across very easily. Travis looks back at the group and he's like, I seem to remember this being something of a situation last time.
How wide is this?
This river is fast moving, it is deep, and it is fairly wide. It is the same river that you all struggled to cross the last time you were
I
here.
remember. So it's yeah.
The Virnik River. It's a beast to conquer.
Leon kind of looks at Maxilla and is like, You wanna
You want to do the backpack method?
I would love that. And she kind of puts her hands together.
Well, we wouldn't want your we wouldn't want your feet getting wet. I don't want to say
Oh,
pretty
wait.
feet.
Travis crosses his arms and he looks at Galen. He's like, I seem to remember you being some kind of fish.
I
Sup, fish boy?
I have an affinity for water. Yes.
So you don't need to be carried.
No. Although if you
Alright.
want to, I mean,
Roll my eyes at that.
B interjects and kind of goes, I don't have an affinity for water deeper than a bathtub.
Uh-oh.
And B kind of just like,
Yes, we know.
Oh no.
B kind of
Theo
just like,
laughs at Ari's equipment.
B kind of just like twiddles her thumbs a little bit and kind of goes, but seems like you guys all already know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Travis extends an arm and is like, I can carry you, Miss Botkin.
Danny,
Yes.
does my unarmored movement improvement apply? It says I can move
No.
along vertical surfaces and across liquids on my turn without falling during the move.
It's too wide.
Okay, here's a question. If Gris was a
No
black
Jesus
bear,
moments for me.
could Ari ride on Gris's back?
If you want to use a spell slot for that, sure.
No, I could just
Can Travis carry
swim again, I guess.
Can Travis come
Yeah.
back and get us?
Travis can carry more than one person at once, as can Maxilla.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was
Carry
like, I
Chris,
don't.
then.
But that's my best friend. I want to carry her across the river. Like Maxilla said yes to Leon, and then was like, "Oh, I forgot that last time B wasn't here. I always carry B on my back."
So wait,
Travis,
do
Travis-
Leon and B both get on Maxilla?
wait,
Hell yeah.
Maxilla, do you say that out loud?
Wait, what?
Maxilla, do you say what you just said out loud,
Yeah.
or is that musing?
No, I say that out loud.
At which point Travis blushes and he's like, I wasn't implying. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I can.
Oh, Travis, that ain't no
Halfling.
skin off of my back. I want to carry B. Like old times' sake.
Gris just at this point is walking up to Travis. Like, she knows where she's going.
Be happy.
Fiona's kind of impatiently tapping her foot, waiting for Maxilla to be ready.
B happily scampers over to Maxilla and kind of just looks over to Travis and kind of goes, "It's okay, we've had our fun."
Travis seems to have reached his emotional capacity for conversation, and at this point hoists Gris onto his shoulder and just like sort of like reaches out to Ari and points at his back and is like,
Yeah. I just like I climb up very gingerly so he barely feels it.
Gris kind of adjusts herself so she's like sitting on one shoulder, like opening up the other shoulder for Ari to either like sit on or hold on to, and just kind of like looks like she's right at home, like she's ridden 100 people at this point.
Travis carries you across to the other side where the Yorks are waiting. I believe Galen is still behind with Maxilla and B and Leon.
Yeah.
All right, hop aboard.
Oh,
You don't have to tell me.
I'm gonna swim. And Galen just sort of runs and dives into the river.
Wow. A single tear rolls down Maxilla's cheek about how beautiful he looks.
The merman experience.
Just like,
V kind of looks over to
Don't
Leon.
worry, he'll get his fangs back soon.
V kind of looks over to Leon, and V is already climbing onto Maxilla's shoulder a little bit, but also kind of looks at to Leon like a cat who does not want to go into the water, and kind of just looks over to her.
Leon is like, I feel the same. As she like walks over to Maxilla and is like getting like, she's like just kind of climbing on Maxilla.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Do
so
not
sorry.
touch the water. Like pushing.
Maxilla starts wading in and like jostles him slightly. Just kind of screw with them.
Leo kind of like, she's holding on to Maxilla's like shoulder, and as Maxilla does that, she just like death grips her shoulder, like, oh my god.
He kind of just grabs her head.
And then I presumably
Bad.
cross the.
Alright, so are you all on the other side?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna make you strength check for that, Maxilla. You're strong enough, you got this.
I was so worried you were gonna make a strength check for that. That's why I didn't offer.
So, Galen, you emerge from the other side. You pop out of the water the way that you do. The orcs are having a conversation. Travis appears to be half listening. Gris still on his shoulder. Ari having climbed down. Gris seems to maybe need some help down from the 7-foot perch. Maxilla wades across the water. The bottom of both B and Leon's clothing is soaked,
Yeah.
which they don't seem particularly happy about. Maxilla, your overalls are soaking.
Oh,
and your
damn,
hair
this
is
one
wet.
chafe. No!
Damn, them thighs going shake, girl.
Oh no! Oh, so my overall gets so itchy.
Question for the
We gotta
DM.
start building bridges.
Question.
Question for the DM.
Yeah, answer for the player.
Hello. Would you consider drying clothing to be cleaning?
No. It's already clean, it's just wet.
I love how you always angle like one of your spells to somehow, maybe, perhaps, do the thing.
Mayhaps.
Good question.
Question for the DM.
Answer for the player.
Can I just like use
Can I
my
suck the
water
water?
spell to just like suck the water out of their clothes?
Can you?
No.
Question for the DM.
Answer for the player.
Does baby powder exist in this world?
I don't think we'll have it on us.
Roll a constitution check to see if you
later.
shave.
Yo, Britt probably has something akin to baby powder in her
I
bag.
probably have something.
No, it's fine. Maxilla's
Okay.
constitution's like +6. It'll be okay.
Well, joke's on you. I have a +4 constitution. Oh no. Oh, I got a 6.
Oh no. Oh no.
Maxilla, you're chafing. It makes you almost as miserable as Travis, who's going through some personal trauma that you're all ignoring.
Maxilla's addressing it. She's trying.
Gris is intently listening to the conversation Travis is having with the other orcs and has a reassuring hand placed on his neck.
Oh no, are you still on him?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on his shoulder.
Travis reaches up and pats your head and in common says, I'm okay.
Chris just kind of
to
grunts
circle back.
just grunts in agreement and says, let me know.
To circle back to the tongues conversation. Is that still a no, not necessary?
It's not necessary.
Or no, not possible?
I mean, like you can, yeah. Actually, if you want to know what they're saying, you can.
My question is just like the volume, because technically tongues is like you touch one person, and then they can understand every language you speak, and everyone in your party can understand them, and they can understand you. But I'm wondering if like that translates for the rest of the orcs because it's the same language. It
does. Yes.
Okay, so then I would like to cast. I would like to just quickly say to Travis, I'm just going to touch your shoulder quickly, okay? Just kind of asking for consent to touch his shoulder, because I know he's like, Leon can tell that he's very tense right now.
You can touch his shoulder. He nods.
So Leon kind of touches his shoulder and casts tongues, which allows us all to understand Orcish for an hour.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come up with some character voices. This is great. Alright, so you can now understand what the orcs are talking about. They seem to be talking about the rites of passage that Travis had mentioned before, particularly the fact that they're going to be married, hopefully, if they pull this off. One of them starts to talk about a set of beads that he has on his person. He says they're made from the bones of a dragon, at which point you notice Travis cock an eyebrow and then seems to look off in a different direction.
Okay.
Not a very inspiring conversation, but you can go for it.
Yeah, do they keep walking?
Yeah, so the orcs are leading you, though they seem to be taking their dear sweet time, which seems very interesting given the situation.
I just like to know Ari's sudden widening eyes and then shifty like squinting at Leon at suddenly being able to understand every word they're saying.
Leon realizing, oh, I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, Gris.
Leon kind of just like turns around quickly and is like, I have a new spell. It's called Tongues. I touch someone, we can all understand every language. So I touch Travis, means we can understand Orcish.
Didn't ask for an explanation.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you all knew.
Gris just like nods down at Leon and says, helpful. I thought they were speaking common. Or halfling. Or druidic. I'm not sure. I just could hear it. I could understand.
Leon looks at Gris and says, it's all common for the next hour. To us. It's everything is common. Every language is common.
She kind of nods. And after hearing, I guess, the dragon beads thing, she kind of like, I doesn't have to speak very loudly, like whispers to Travis. And she's like, you really think those are made of dragon bones? Surely not, right? You said there were like, what, 3? 2?
Travis sort of shrugs and it like sends you up in the air and he's like, I mean, mine are dragon bones, so it's not unheard of. It's just impressive.
Oh. Gris kind of like looks at the neck. Is he wearing it currently? The dragon bone necklace? Yeah.
It's not a necklace. And wherever it is, he's not wearing it.
Oh. So anyways. She's like, okay. And she's like, you really think they're gonna just give up everybody? They seem pretty excited about getting married.
orc weddings aren't all they're cracked up to be. And, I can just tell them a few horror stories. Or, they can always lie. And he sort of, sighs for a minute. He's like, Gris, you'd be surprised to hear this, but orcs aren't very smart.
She's like, I gave Maxilla the intelligence buff for a reason.
Charisma.
You did charisma.
Charisma. Oh, I gave you charisma. I also have an intelligence buff.
Bump. I couldn't think of the word buff.
Clearly it wasn't an intelligence buff.
Yeah.
She just kind of nods.
So Leon kind of is right behind Travis because she was close enough to kind of touch him. I assume she can hear this conversation between them.
Yeah. If you are close enough, you can hear. Travis is a large man and he's not great at speaking quietly. He tries.
Yeah. So I think upon hearing him say that they're not super intelligent, Leon says, well, hopefully that'll work in our favor to try and get our friends back.
He nods.
Leon's very tense. She's not. She just continues to follow. She's stressed.
Ari's just been wondering that, if the plan in their head, right? If the plan is to avoid the fighting, the plan is diplomacy. They're like, none of us here are very good at diplomacy, no matter what Leon says.
She actually really is.
Their
You
head.
haven't seen her in a noble situation yet.
Well,
I'm sure that'll work with the orcs.
She got kidnapped last time we were.
But is thinking then that at the only point in order to even possibly explain that it's not just about their god, they pipe up try and reach Travis, just get a little closer to Travis and pipe up and go, I don't know that we'll have an explanation that satisfies them? What is it you intend to say?
Travis thinks for a moment, and he's like, Ariadne, you've never been a young man before, but some very stupid young men, and he looks over his shoulder at Galen, and he's like, or even slightly older men, would do anything to impress someone who has an influence over them. And so
Understandable.
my plan is to treat them like their children. And he sort of thinks for a moment, and he's like, which is to say that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Do you think the ones that they're taking us to are also children?
I mean, they've said that they haven't had the rights yet, so...
Oh, okay.
Fair enough. I'll follow your lead on that one. I'll trust you'll tell us what to do, basically.
So, you all continue to walk. And the landscape becomes familiar. You pass by an area you remember. A rocky sort of alcove. You can see the remains of large eggshells glinting in the moonlight. Everyone but B recognizes this.
So and go, you never did tell us how that went.
Yes.
Did they leave, I guess?
Yeah. Communication was a little bit harder after y'all left, but we'd already come to an agreement. So, god damn, it's been kind of a hard year now that I think about it. We've had to give up some livestock for them, and now we've had kind of a rougher harvest this year. Might have to bounce the books a little bit. Anyway, sorry y'all. I think I'm a
Don't
little
think books will
frazzled.
fit on a scale.
But yeah, Mama headed out to the forest after the babies hatched, and I haven't seen her since, honestly, but they all came out great. So, a little rough and tumble, and scattering the eggs around for a little bit didn't stop them from coming out strong.
From what coming out
Leon
strong?
kind of scratches her head.
Grimaces.
Did you not read my letter?
There wasn't many pictures.
Travis kind of like frowns and he goes, "Your boyfriend almost killed a bunch of babies."
Hearing this, Galen just like gets super defensive, and he's like, "I didn't actually plan on killing them, Travis."
Admittedly, Galen, it looked like you did. Leon looks at B and is like, last time we were here, there was a wyvern. The wyvern had eggs. I can communicate with wyverns, which was fun to explain. And also just fun to like just hiss for like 30 minutes and nobody know what I was saying. Galen grabbed one of the eggs. The wyvern freaked out. I grabbed the egg from Galen. No baby wyvern murder happened.
Are we just not going to talk about the part how a fight also happened?
Gris kind of like shoots a look at Galen and is like, "Now's not really the time."
Seeing
About
that
over the
from-
campfire later.
Seeing that look from Gris, Galen just sort of shuts his mouth.
No, oh, Galen.
Travis is going through some things. Like, let's not try to.
So you all sort of continue in silence for a little bit longer. They take you over a hill and down the other side, which leads to what appears to be a cave. Outside of the cave are two more orcs. They seem to be guarding the entrance. Travis holds up a hand, and he's like, "Let's not threaten any children this time."
Galen just rolls his eyes.
Travis just completely ignores you. Travis crosses his arms and he goes, "We're looking for some humans. Not these humans." And he like sort of like points and he's like, "Well, human-ish. 6 of them. I think you might be keeping them for some kind of crazy sacrifice that seems totally unnecessary. Doesn't it seem unnecessary, Maxilla?"
Yeah, it seems absolutely unnecessary. Sorry. There's a whole other thing that y'all aren't understanding, and we don't think it's just Grumps that's having this issue, so we don't think a sacrifice would be successful for what y'all are trying to accomplish.
One of the orcs kind of looks up at the two of you and he goes, "You two are very tall."
Thank you. I got it from a bar.
At this point, you can actually hear someone speaking a broken combination of Orcish and Common inside of the cage. Inside of the cave. Maxilla, you can tell that this person is anxious, but they seem to be doing a good job of holding a conversation with whoever they're talking to. Asking them questions about marriage and beads, telling them about their own marriage, in a way that reminds you of maybe how they used to calm you down when you were much younger and weren't used to the voice of Grumsh in your head.
Maxilla lets out a sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank Chanti. Sorry, that's in her head. She didn't say that out loud. But she's just so thankful because she was really worried about her Ba, but like she was just trying to kind of address it at one point of a time. But hearing Ba and hearing that they are calming down, or at least, operating the situation in a way that seems successful to a certain amount, very relaxing. Like, hearing Boz relaxing words to a random orc is relaxing Maxilla in a nostalgic sense.
Stapes, who has been just clinging to you this entire time and has witnessed quite a few weirdly personal moments for you, unwraps herself from you and sort of darts forward. The
Maxilla grabs her.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just like, settle down. I know, I hear them. I do. But I think we need to assess the situation. I think Boz got it on their end, okay?
Travis looks back at Ari and goes, "Can I have the rest of that flask?"
Yeah. I pull it up.
Leon just
hand
kind
it
of
to him.
gently shakes her head, like,
Travis
Galen
looks
just
at
looks
the
at
flask
Leon.
and like sniffs it, and he's like, "Some good stuff." And then goes, "Sorry, I'm gonna have to take the rest of it." And then hands it to one of the orcs at the door and goes, "You think we could get in?" The orc drinks it and then goes, "No."
Wow, what Foley work! Thank you, Jenny.
Did you just do that on demand?
Yeah.
I was shook.
that's a talent.
At which point, Travis kind of looks
So-
back at you all and he's like, "I could use some help in being persuasive here."
Chris is like, Leon.
Ari just takes a
talk?
step back.
Can we talk in Orcish?
Try to take a stab. Or a cute wink and
Wait.
a flashing of a smile.
Yes, B?
Can we talk in Orcish? Is that how tongues work?
So this is the question, because technically, so what tongues says is it says the spell grants the creature you touch the ability to understand any spoken language it hears. And when the target speaks, any creature that knows at least one language and can hear the target understands what it says. So because Travis was my target,
Yeah,
we all
so
can
they
hear and
can't
understand what he says.
they can't understand you, but
Yes.
you can understand them.
Okay.
Correct.
Does Maxilla still have the dough buff, the grist buff of
Yes,
extra
she
charisma?
does.
Okay. So I could do like a persuasion check and it would actually like have a advantage.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So what are we trying to persuade right now though? Like is it just generally that we're trying to tell them to
We gotta get in.
He kind of whispers to Maxilla and it's like, flirt with them.
I guess I have a question. Like, why aren't they letting us in if there's other orcs here that said we could get in? The guards are just like, nah. Did the other orcs already go?
They're just contrary. They're orc teenagers. They're just kind of like that.
They're kids.
Okay.
I mean, they're like equivalent to 18-year-olds, so.
Yeah, I hate
Right.
I'm
it.
not flirting with an
Oh, shit.
18-year-old. I'm 26 years old.
Leon kind of
All
looks
right.
to Maxilla and says, I can work magic physically and speech wise, but not if they don't understand me. So
I think I'm
Just,
going
like,
to take a
look
crack
pretty.
at him.
Wait, before you take a crack. Before you take a crack. I don't know what to say like that. Jenny, is there any other entrances to this cave? Is there anything else going on? Like, can we just take a peek, a little gander,
I mean, you can.
a little perception roll?
You can try.
Just quip back to Leon, like, if speech-wise is the best you can do, maybe Maxilla can take it.
Leon looks at Arya and says, "Yeah, I don't. I've got no orcish knowledge. So nope."
I got a 13. I don't know that that'll give us much, but
I rolled an 18.
Oh,
It's a cave. There's one entrance. Presumably there's another entrance somewhere underneath the ground that connects to other caves, but I would discourage you from looking for it.
4 episodes later, the gang gets into the cave.
All right, Maxwell's gonna freaking crack out the charm. All right,
Travis thinks you're very pretty as you're doing this. He's like, oh wow, her charisma's off the charts.
So does Arya and tries to catch Travis's eye. I'm just like, yes, another bonding moment.
Yes.
Travis nods,
hot women.
but he looks a little sad as he catches your eye.
Oh.
Right. So Maxilla kind of works her way up to the front. And okay, I'm sorry. I think I just need the scene set a little bit more. So is it like 3 guys just like standing in front of the cave, just not letting us in?
There's 2 orcs guarding the cave door. They have 3 friends who are sort of awkwardly standing there, looking between those 2 orcs and presumably Travis, who's been facilitating most of the interaction.
Okay. If I want to roll a persuasion check to persuade them to let us in, should I do that before I do my little charmy bit or afterward? I should do it before. I should do it after.
Yeah. Roll it beforehand. Before.
I have advantage.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see.
There's that. I don't understand how
I think it did both already.
Okay. Oh yeah, I did. I won.
Yeah.
Wait, you rolled. What did you roll, hun?
I won. I got.
It was an 18, Jenny.
I got an 18.
All right, go ahead. Give me your best speech. I'm gonna have to get into like orc kid mode.
Okay. Y'all, what brings you to our neck of the woods? Welcome to the farm of Linked Hearts. I see that you are enjoying our cave system. Listen, sounds like y'all seem like nice people, and I would just love to get in beyond y'all. And, well, I would like to get to know you, and I would like to get to know everyone else that's in there as well. And I think we can come to an agreement that can all help it. That can help us all.
And
wow, Maxilla does not go
before Maxilla finishes, Bee's like, I don't know if Maxilla can even see, but Bee's kind of trying to lean over and kind of going like,
and then Maxilla
and like kind of like posing a little bit.
Maxilla flips her braid and like kind of like winks and like shows off her like face or war paint that she has on, and she's like, I think we are cut of similar cloth, and I think that we could have a lively conversation about many topics.
I think at this point Gris is because we can understand Maxilla, right? Like,
Yeah.
Gris is like, oh my god.
Travis is nodding along,
shaking her head.
Travis is nodding along as if this is the most charming thing he's ever seen. He's like,
Is like,
yes. He's like, absolutely, I would follow you anywhere, whatever you say, babe. The orc at the door watches this whole sort of thing by Maxilla and goes, you look very pretty and very strong. How
Well,
many
thank
have you
you.
killed?
I've done my time.
At this point, Travis's trance seems to be broken, and he's looking at the kid with like a heartbroken expression.
Gris kind of elbows him a little, like, it's It's for the greater good.
I consider
Travis is
myself
like,
a
it's
pretty
not
good
about that.
defender of this land here. I have slain a beast or two in my time. I have taken out, what was it? A bear?
The
That
other
was
one,
attacking-
like, sort of elbows his friend, and he's like, how are you supposed to get married if you question the strength and murder capacity of every orc woman you meet? Of course you can come in.
Oh, thank you. Oh, y'all seem like stand-up guys.
They were sitting down.
Were they?
I think they were standing.
Oh, I thought it was the ones still outside. I don't know.
At this point, Travis has sort of pushed past the kids that have sort of gestured in, and he looks at one of them and he goes, you know, your worth really shouldn't be measured in the amount of people you kill. You should really figure that one out.
Sometimes it's by the strength of your heart.
Travis is like, yeah, exactly what she said. I was going to say it a little differently, but yes. All right. Maxilla, can you find in this?
Cardio is very important. It's true.
B kind of leans over and kind of, I know they can't understand me, but B just says it anyways. Says kind of like, there's more important body counts.
And goes, oh.
I think Leon and Galen do that at the same time.
And then I look at Galen.
Travis makes the same noise but looks anywhere but at anybody in the party.
And Maxilla makes direct eye contact with B.
Chris is doing the like mom thing where she's just like, I'm gonna pretend I don't hear any of this.
He's just confused. Does she mean like a roll call?
Yes.
Actually,
no.
you know what?
Ari.
Maxilla high fives B.
At this point, Travis is like, Stapes, do you see your ba?
Roll on.
Stapes, who's been watching this sort of B Maxilla interaction with absolute confusion, perks up and goes, Ba? At which point, Chet pokes their head up from behind a particularly large rock. Oh, Maxilla and Stapes, it's so good to see you. I was a little worried about you, I'm not gonna lie. I just met the nicest boy here. His name is something a little difficult to pronounce, and he was just telling me a fascinating story about these wedding beads that he's got on him. Did you know they have to carve them when they turn 13 years old? Maxilla, were we even allowing you to hold knives? Well, I guess we had machetes and stuff, but you weren't doing carvings or
will
nothing.
by the time we were whittling since I was like 9.
Oh yeah, but not beads out of stone. It was like woods and. Anyways, I'm very proud of you, Maxilla. Can you get us the hell out of here, please?
Yes, absolutely. I am happy to see you safe. Feelings mutual.
The orcs sort of watch this interaction with sort of collective arm crossed. It's a little unclear if you're going to get out of here.
Gris kind of like whisper / talks to Travis, and she's like, "Okay, now what's the plan?" Like, you said we
Travis
later.
Travis like rubs his chin, and he's like, "Well, I guess we're at the bridge now, aren't we?"
Yes, I do believe we have to cross it.
And now it's time to burn it.
I thought we were trying to kill Bridges dead.
That was not a character. Allison said that, not Maxilla. I didn't use the accent.
No, saying this back. I thought we were supposed to keep our bridges intact.
B kind of leans over to Maxilla and kind of goes, I think they got a liking for you. I think you could convince them to let us go. You know, with a price of a wink or there, here or there.
Okay.
Leon,
Question for the.
Oh no, you go.
I'm sorry. Yeah, really quick. I just have a question. So we saw Chet. Do we see all the other people, or is it just Chet?
You can hear them. Presumably, they are also somewhere behind this rock that Chet was behind.
Okay.
So there's so what's the inside of this cave? Just a big giant rock?
It's a cave.
Oh, there's a cave.
It goes further back, it looks like, but there's a large rock behind which you can hear people talking.
Okay.
Leon looks to Travis and says, do you think any of them are a clear leader? Or do you think they're all making decisions together? Like, is there someone we should be focusing our conversation on?
Travis laughs at that. He thinks your question is funny. He goes, if there was a leader, the other ones would all be dead by now. So, I'm gonna assume they sort of...
Okay.
At which point he looks to Maxilla,
leader, then.
and he's like, I think Miss Bofkin is right about.
Yeah. All right. So she turns to all of the people, all of the guys, the homies. No, they're not homies. The boys. They're the boys. And she's like, hey, y'all, I think this has been a big misunderstanding. And I understand that we all got our problems right now. But, okay, wait, I'm gonna roll.
What are you rolling for?
Persuasion! I gotta persuade him to let my babago.
And everybody else?
Is it
or just
shit, with advantage, too. Well, that's
just
one.
roll it again. Oh, are we rolling?
Okay, what
I got a 19. I got a 19. Alright, time to break out the charm. Okay.
Hang on, let me get in character. Okay, I'm ready.
Y'all seem like I said, this seems to be a big misunderstanding, and I think that y'all can this doesn't have to be your only thing in life, and we don't have to you don't have to sacrifice these people. We're having a bigger issue, we believe. Oh, the Lord. I need to think this before I start talking.
As Maxilla is talking, the orc from outside approaches her.
Yes.
Takes something from his pocket and puts it in her hand. Looks up into her eyes and goes, would you be my war bride?
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Is Gris still on Travis's shoulders, I'm assuming?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Gris is tense and so nervous. She probably increases her grip on Travis's clothing and kind of leans forward to see his face. And
Travis is in hysterics. He thinks this is the funniest fucking thing he's ever seen.
Gris
just mouth agape, just jaw has dropped. He's just gonna stare like that for a while.
Maxilla says, well, ain't you a charmer? But I think you'll have to ask. Well, he's first in line. So, and your bead's real pretty, and I really admire the craftsmanship, but, he got here first, I think. I appreciate it, and if I see any other pretty orc ladies, I'll let them know. I'll send them to you first, because, damn, I'll be the craftsmanship on them beads, the passion in his eyes, it was beautiful. I also think I might be a little old for you. I appreciate that. Y'all, you're very sweet. Very sweet. but I will put in a good word with the next pretty orc lady. I know that's not my sister's.
I was gonna say, the orc looks immediately disappointed, as if he had been about to ask a follow-up question of Stapes.
Gris kind of like whispers to Travis, is like, "Have you given Maxilla your beads?"
Travis stops laughing immediately and goes, "I'm working on it." So,
Gris kind of is like pats him real quick, and she's like,
we've
take your time,
got a lot of time, Chris. It's
yeah, take your time.
Maxilla is blushing gray at this point.
Travis is no longer finding this situation funny and starts to walk past the kid, and he's like, "Yeah, you heard her. I've got dibs. We're gonna. I'm sure this is a lot of rejection for you to hit. We're just gonna go. I think she's saying that we should just go. Mm-hmm. Yep, we should go.
What about the others? I
Yeah,
after Travis.
Stapes, can you go get your bar and I'm going outside. And he walks, taking Gris with him on his shoulder.
Now, what are you boys gonna do once we leave, though? Thank y'all for letting these guys go. They've got a fun little get together to get back to once they're out of here. But what are y'all gonna do? Are y'all gonna stick around, or what are y'all doing?
They kind of look at each other for a moment, and they're like, "Well, I guess we go to home. I guess we go home, and they sort of look after Travis as if they'd had some questions they would have liked to ask someone more familiar with orc culture, but he's left, and they're like, and we tell them nobody can hear Grosh. Yes.
I think that's a good first step.
V kind of leans over to Maxilla and kind of goes, "Invite them to the festival."
Y'all want to party?
I was gonna say, I'm like, home is probably far.
We need more dancers. Seems like a bad idea. Leon whispers, like, "That seemed like a bad
I received the party invitation. You know what? We're kind of full."
They look at each other and they're like, "A party," and they do a snapping gesture similar to what Travis had done before.
No.
Leon just starts furiously shaking her head. No.
You know what? Y'all can line dance the direction of home on your own. I can teach you a line dance really quick if you want.
They look at you and they're like, the orc goes, "If you do not want to be my war bride, I would ask that you leave and take your pet humans with you."
Ah, yes. My many companions that are... Nope. Yep.
Starts to pipe up, just like we're still not knowing this entire time that they've said something or spoken. It's not been explained to them that they're not understood. Just making that clear. So they do start to pipe up, going like, I'm not, and
I think they're talking about the other wagon people already.
At this point, Chet has sort of gathered together everyone, and they look relatively unharmed, though a little terrified. They're sort of looking between Maxilla and the other orcs. Meanwhile, outside, Travis and Gris are hanging out.
Gris kind of is trying to figure out the right way to word things, and she's like, so Travis, you want to talk about it? About, maybe the bees thing, or your past, or I'm just here if you need anything.
The what? The what thing?
The beads thing?
Oh. It's just, I was going to get married before I left, and then I left, and now I have beads, and it's fine. It's fine. No, it's good. I just thing you said reminded me a little bit of my mother. Anyways,
Oh,
shouldn't they be out here by now?
I'm sure they're working on it. I didn't, Travis. I'm sorry.
No, I like being reminded of her. It's good.
Gris kind of just pats him, and she's like, "I'd like to hear about her sometime." She's like, and then she kind of like turns her head to look back at the cave, and she's like, "Do you want to go check on them, or should we give them another minute or two?"
He's like, "Oh god, the last thing I want to have to interact with is orc marriages. Let's just wait."
I says, "We can wait."
Maxilla, have you gotten all your friends together? B, do you want to flirt with anybody? Do you need to say any flirty goodbyes to people who don't understand what you're saying?
There's more than one way to communicate, darling.
Oh my god, body language.
B does not flirt with everybody, and purely because of the fact that, she's very proud of Maxilla for captivating the room. I feel like Maxilla's learned a lot, and B is very proud.
Maxilla never wants to speak again. With so many words.
So, Chet sort of leads the group of humans out in front of you. They then stop and turn to Maxilla and Stapes, who is clinging to Ba's hand. And they say, Maxilla, thank you. I'm not quite sure what they did with our wagon, but I'll just make Incus build us a new one the next time he misbehaves. I'm gonna try to get everybody here back home over the bridge on the other end of town. The water's a little deep. And also I'm quite sure I caused your mother enough fear.
Yeah.
I want to thank you and your friends and your friend, and I hope this didn't ruin your festival. I know how much you look forward to it every year.
Maxilla kind of tears up a little bit. I think because Maxilla, I think Maxilla breaks down and she's like, "Bah, I was so scared back there. Oh my god. What if I had messed up? If I rambled at them for like 5 minutes and I think I just got away. I was going by the skin of my teeth just because of if Gris hadn't given me that charm, that would have gone so much worse. And I could have lost you. I could have lost everybody I ever cared about. Well, almost everybody I've ever cared about all in one go. Because I'm just so glad that it worked out, but I was terrified in the moment of saying the wrong thing and just losing it all. And I'm just happy that we're all out here now.
Ba nods, and they sort of stand on their tiptoes to like pat you on the face very gently and goes, I never doubted you for even a second.
Oh.
Maxilla lets out a sigh of relief.
And then they go, plus, if you anything like your mother, or he's anything like your mother, you would have gotten out just fine. I'm sure, but... At that point, they give you one last gentle pat on the cheek, and turn back towards the rest of the group, which they start walking towards the bridge on the other end of the river.
Leon kind of says, well, I think that went well. And she turns to Maxilla and says, you did really well.
Thanks.
B also turns to Maxilla and goes, you are sex. You gotta use more of that sex appeal you have.
I think we need to still have. I have a lot to learn. B, how do you do that constantly? That was my personal hell.
Galen like walks up to Maxilla and sort of just at least attempts to reach to pat her shoulder and goes, "I think you're better with words than you think you are."
Are they
Oh,
outside?
shucks.
Travis nods and he goes, I liked it. First in line, huh?
See? And then Galen like points back to Travis and like smiles cheekily, like,
Travis completely ignores Galen altogether.
Oh.
So beams down at Maxilla and says, I thought you did really good, and you were very brave. It was not an easy thing to do.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Maxilla realizes that she did say that Travis was first in line, and she's like, "Oh shoot!" But like, you know, I think like a lot of shit's washing over her currently. I'm like, oh my god.
Kind of seeing that Maxilla is overwhelmed, Leon puts her hands together and says, "Well, I believe we have some weapons to retrieve, and then also we have to go back to the festival, except this time." And she looks at Maxilla, she's like, "No more greased pig, right? We're done with that?"
No.
That part's done.
But I do have many more ideas about what I have so many other things planned. All right. Maxilla's shifting into festival mode.
Upon hearing that, I just like look at Leon and say, "Oh, did you hear that? So many other things planned."
So Leon looks at Ari and is like, "Oh, I heard it loud and clear."
B kind of just kind of
Making
goes,
sure. Wouldn't want you to miss out because you didn't hear her.
B kind of just goes, the night is so young, room for so many activities. And as she says that, she kind of just nudges Galen a little bit and just
Galen's blush is blue, and it's just like, that can wait a little bit longer.
Gris kind of chuckles gleefully at B's comment, misinterpreting it, and her eyes go wide, and she's like, "Oh, that's right, Galen, we have to go back and play with the pigs."
Galen just like lights up with joy. He's like, "You're right. Yes."
I'm gonna get down and dirty with something else pink too, I assume.
Lol.
At this point, Leon has like
Galen's
started
sweating.
walking in the direction that they were going and is like just heading towards the river, waiting for them to come back because she's like, "I can't handle this."
As they're walking, I think,
And I just want to say, I've mentioned it to those orc boys, but now the thoughts in my head, I am teaching y'all a line dance, and we're doing it at the hoedown tomorrow. I swear it. I'm all making it. It's not that hard. It's gonna be so much fun. We can do it as a group. Won't that be so fun?
Travis,
Leon says,
Ari-
"I can waltz.
Ari's
I can
just
waltz.
like,
I can probably
I
line
think I got
dance."
this.
wait, Ari, sorry, repeat.
You know the boots can boogie.
Oh, I just said like this is one of the things that Ari is excited, like lights up about. Like they're excited, like they're just like, watching Maxwell and they're just like, "I don't know what this is, but I think I'd be good at it."
Travis is underneath Gris. He like looks up at Gris and he's like, I don't really dance. Do you think she's gonna? Do you think she's going to make me dance?
Gris kind of like lets out like half a breath, and she's like, "Listen, most of dancing is just making eye contact and just moving in a circle, kind of slowly. I think you got the eye contact thing down, so don't worry too much about the rest."
It's a lot like fist fighting.
Sure.
Okay.
A different end goal, Travis. A different end goal. And she also says, I hope we can definitely enjoy the festival and whatever form of dancing you may do, Travis. But we gotta figure out this issue with the gods soon."
He doesn't really have an answer to that. You all are walking back towards the riverbank, and now you are at the riverbank, by the way.
Speaking of gods, is Harvest doing okay?
Well, we kind of had a weak harvest this year, and we kind of blamed it on the drought that happened. But like 2 years ago, we thought it would bounce back this year, but we were assuming that it was kind of like a late drought problem. But now hearing about how Grumsh and all these other gods have been tampered down, we're kind of I'm assuming that Chanti powers also was weaker this year. Pumpkins just weren't as big this year. You had so many gourds that were so small, but perfect for launching. Blessing in disguise.
I guess there's pros and cons to having low fertility and nourishment, you know.
If we run out of gourds, I have given the alternative.
Oh god.
I'd like to see that. Travis is blatantly ignoring B's comment about fertility.
Yeah, so sorry. It just went over their head. They're on the gourds.
Travis saw it, and he looked the other way as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. At this point, they've now reached the riverbank. And he sort of looks at Galen and crosses his arm, and he's like, okay, fish.
Do you like seeing me swim, Travis? You always offer for me to go first. It's kind of flattering.
If there's one thing I've learned, it's better to have a thief where you can see them rather than behind you.
I'm just gonna ignore that, and Galen runs and sort of just like swan dives into the the river.
At this point, Travis turns to B and he goes, you know, you have truly awful taste, and I'm a little worried that reflects poorly on...
B responds and kind of just, kind of ignoring the comment a little bit and kind of just going, well, I'm glad we both enjoy watching a thief. I do enjoy watching that one, too. Something we have in common, I guess.
Travis looks at Ariadne and he's like, would you like a ride?
Leon walks over to Maxilla at the same time.
Maxilla does the most grandiose bow possible.
Leon, like, picks up her fake skirts and, like, curtsies back. And then, like, motions to climb on Maxilla because she's not trying to swim. No.
As I'm climbing up... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just going to say, as I climb up onto Travis, just thanking him again, trying to do so as lightly as possible so it barely feels it, I just grumble to myself. I'm like, I will swim this one day.
Travis gives you, like, an awkward pat on the back over his shoulder. He's like...
Thank you.
Remind me when we get back that I owe you a drink.
Oh, thank you.
Gris kind of mentions to Travis, she's like, did you know that I can turn into animals now? Like, just thinking about Ari wanting to cross the river. She's like, so I can kind of swim sometimes.
He's like, that's very cool, Gris. Very cool. And wades into the river with you both on his shoulders.
Gris thought it was a fun fact.
Aww.
Maxilla, do you carry your two beautiful women across the
Mm-hmm.
water?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so you reach the other side. Your weapons are in dust
Never mind.
by the dead fire. Oh, no, go for it. Go for it.
No,
Ryan.
I answered my own question because it was the same question I had when we crossed it the first time, but it's been since resolved, so it's fine.
Okay.
The question
okay.
was, how did Stapes get across last time?
Stapes, waited. Presumably.
Fair enough.
It's also at work.
She's big and strong.
Yeah.
You get to the other side, and you can see your weapons still lying discarded in the dirt. It doesn't look like anyone's really picked through them. You all notice that though everyone's is covered in dust, the way that Travis requested, Leon's sword, shining, clean, dotted with beautiful red rubies, looks hand-forged, lies in the dust, untouched, almost as clean as it was at her waist.
Leon gingerly picks it up and kind of sheaths it again. Is like, glad I didn't have to fight for that.
Gris kind of looks down at Leon and is just like, you seem to take a lot of pride in that sword, Leon.
It's a very nice sword.
It is a very nice sword.
Kind of
from your stores, your family stores?
Leon looks at Chris and is like, no, it's not.
Chris kind of like shoots.
Kind of doesn't say anything else.
Chris kind of shoots Galen like eyes, like, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Galen just looks up at Chris and is like, yeah.
Chris just like folds her hands and just smiles at Leon, and she's like, very nice sword. Glad you have that.
I kind of have a question. Can I be, as a person who enjoys many pleasures and delicacies, can I do a perception check on that sword?
Yeah, you can. You absolutely
Steal
can.
swords.
As someone who steals swords.
24.
Holy shit. Okay, let me give you just a quick summary of this sword. So you, as Leon straps it to her belt, you sort of, lean forward, take a little peek. You sort of make it look like maybe you're examining your shoe, or you're just really interested in like a bug on the ground or something, but what you're really doing is looking at this sword. It looks handmade. It's very shiny. It looks like the hilt is made out of real silver. You think it would make a quite nice necklace if it was, say, melted down. It's got rubies in it, and they're very sparkly. Definitely real. You actually think, you wouldn't mind rubies like those. You know, if anyone was in the position to give you anything with rubies on it, you'd like it. It sort of reminds you of the sort of thing you've seen in the window of a shop of a man who came to you once to purchase a subscription to your services as a bachelor's party gift. That's really all you remember about it, but it is a very nice sword.
B doesn't make any comment. Yet.
Interesting.
He's like, I will hoard this knowledge.
Maxilla picks up her hammer, like spits on it, rubs it out with her like flannel, and then gives it a big old kiss. And she's like, "Oh, I missed you." And she puts it on her back.
Leon, watching this, like,
Ari just
touches her sword, like...
Ari just chuckles at Leon like, yeah, that's a new swords person. And puts theirs back in their frog.
Travis, without even so much as jostling Gris, because God forbid he jostle Gris, reaches down, picks up his axe, looks at it, and then hands it to the halfling and is like, can you just, I'm not sure I have with you there, it's a little hard to, can you just hold it? Is it too heavy?
Gris is like, I'll try! And she takes it. Do you need a strength roll for that?
Yes, I do!
I'm so nervous. Oh my god, I can't even look. I'm just gonna like click in.
If I'm seeing this, can I like ready?
Oh.
Yes, you
I want to take the
are...
ready action to be ready to catch it so they don't kill themselves.
Oh wait, I rolled dexterity. Hold on, I rolled the wrong thing.
Ooh! Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Okay, so Travis
That's
sort
a
of
dirty
hands you the axe, and you almost immediately start to fall off of his shoulder. He then goes, drop the axe, very loudly, and steadies you with one hand. Ari darts forward and catches the axe, taking the time to strap it to Travis's back. At which point he turns around to them and he goes, 2 drinks. I owe you 2 drinks.
It's just like, oh no, Travis, I'm so sorry, Ari, thank you so much. She's like, I'm just really small.
It's okay.
She's like devastated and like probably like bright red at the cheeks, like, oh no, Travis has done so much.
Travis gives you a gentle pat on the head. You all follow Maxilla, who's now leading the party, back through the trampled corn, along the same path, back towards the farmhouse. As you approach, you can see that the festival is sort of winding down for the night. However, on the porch, sits an orc woman, holding a human person in her arms lovingly. Two slightly shorter, but still very tall, half-orc children hold each other and seem to be crying. As you approach, Maxilla breaks into a jog and wraps her entire family up in her arms.
I was gonna say it was a full sprint. I'm over here.
Chet looks up at you all and goes, "You know, I think you should all stay, at least through the last night of the festival. We owe you that much. Although, I'm pretty sure my daughter could have handled it on her own. We will be back next week for the last night of the Harvest Festival. Hopefully a little less orc trauma, but I'm thinking there's some resolutions that need to happen here, so we'll see."